Welcome. One thing you may not know about me is that, you may not know it either, but I've been teaching for 20 years, and when I first started, I was really, really bad at it, and I almost quit because I didn't have a lot of support. But what kept me, or got me over the line, was because of the kinds of people that were surrounding me and the ideas and tips and infrastructure that was there. So if you're a new teacher or you know somebody who's a new teacher, I want you to meet Ben Grozier. You're the founder of Class Cover, and Ben's going to give you a few ideas of how to reach success quickly as a new teacher. So Ben, thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great.
So Ben, what is your background in education? What did you start? What did you do?
Yeah, so I've been in education pretty much for about 20 years now. I started off as a teacher, learning support assistant. I was actually a tennis coach for a period of time, and I ran tennis at a school in Sydney, which sort of spilt over into a bit of classroom teaching. And then did some work in the UK, and then eventually came back to Australia and did some casual work before getting the idea for Class Cover.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you work with a lot of new teachers, and what are the strengths that new teachers bring? Because we often talk about the challenges, but what are the strengths that they bring?
Yeah, I mean, number one, they bring the best practice being taught at the universities, around Australia and around the world. They probably come in, well, they definitely come in with a lot of theory, probably not as much on the ground experience. So no sort of preconceptions, as it were, which is really helpful when you're going into perhaps a bit of a state or perhaps even a stale environment. Sometimes you can bring some fresh ideas. And yeah, look, they can, if given the chance, they can implement those best practices into their new school environment and bring about really positive change.
Fantastic. So you often talk about from a standpoint of less than, but actually it's abundance. There's so much they bring to the system. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you work with a lot of new teachers, and what are the common challenges that you see they face?
Yeah, look, I think the big challenge, I sort of touched on it before, is this whole idea of your education as a teacher starts in your first day in the classroom. You learn an awful lot, obviously, throughout your 4-year degree, and there is an element of practicum to that, where you get a bit of on-the-ground experience. But in my belief is that the biggest challenge is actually what you need to learn that you haven't yet learned until you set foot into a real live and kicking classroom.
You know, sometimes I think new teachers think that something's wrong with them if they're struggling in the beginning, but what you're saying, it's universal, right? So we all go through that. There's nothing wrong with us during that process of those challenges we're facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's an element of sort of secrecy around those challenges, which really needs to be brought out into the open. A bit like parenting. I mean, I'm a parent of 2 small children. There's a lot of things they don't tell you, a lot of things the books don't tell you. And with teaching, I think there's still that expectation that you should be ready to go, a fully fledged, prepared teacher on day one in that classroom. And there's varying reasons for that, not least of which parental pressure. They're expecting to see a fully fledged professional in front of their kids, and if you're a day one teacher, how can you be expected to be that without a lot of support around you?
No pressure. No pressure.
Exactly, no pressure.
So here's your chance. Like, what are your top tips that you think all new teachers should know? And maybe not everything, but maybe just 2 or 3 you could recommend.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think a lot of teachers will come out of university and embark on a substitute teaching, casual teaching, relief teaching sort of pathway in order to get experience and then become a full-time teacher down the track. My advice is always just to diversify. Try to say yes to as many teaching opportunities as possible. Keep in mind that you are a teacher. You're not a history teacher. You're not even necessarily a primary or an elementary school teacher. You're a teacher. And so if you get an opportunity to broaden your horizons from an educator point of view, I would encourage you to embrace that. I'd also look to really ensconce yourself in the school community. And remember, it's not just face-to-face classroom teaching. Schools are living, breathing, active members of the community. And that's a great way to get yourself really prepared for those longer full-time roles.
That's fantastic. And how about for pedagogy, or just the kind of getting the classroom up and running? Because I know that's often the challenge for a lot of teachers. Any tips for that you can recommend?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest concern with most teachers is around behaviour management and classroom management, as it were. I personally am of the belief that the universities probably leave you a little bit short as a general rule when it comes to being ready from that standpoint. And of course, being a good classroom manager then allows you to actually do what you're meant to do, which is implement the curriculum or do the actual teaching. So it's kind of a gateway, and I'd say to become very comfortable in that sort of classroom management, rapport building, pretty much people skills, but with little people, and then you can put all that academic theory into practice. You need to set the landscape before you can actually sort of roll out what you're meant to do.
I love the term set the landscape, and then you can do what you need to do. It's a fantastic thing. So we want to end with a question for you, and the question is this. If you're a new teacher, or you know a new teacher, or you want to support a new teacher, this question is, what advice do you have to support new teachers the first few years? And I'm going to invite you to post your comments below, and Ben and I will check them out.
That'd be great.
And Ben, thanks for the work that you do.
That's my absolute pleasure.
Great. And for all of you out there, we just want to continue to thank you for the work you're doing. We need you more than ever, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So thanks so much.